thought I'd just begin from a different starting place than the one that you presented in your presentation. I think you have us look at the liturgy of Rosh Hashanah.
Yeah.
You have us look at the readings from the Hebrew Bible that infuse the liturgy of Rosh Hashanah. But I want to begin from the perspective of a man or woman sitting in the pews at a synagogue or a museum. And the message that so many of us hear when we are confronted with a Rosh Hashanah service from our spiritual leaders is a message of wakefulness. And that's another meaning of the shofar that we might discuss. There's this idea, this Jewish concept of chashbon nefesh, where it's in a moment for reflection and beginning to turn our soul toward repentance. How does that whole discussion relate to kingship and parenthood and the Jewish meaning of time that we discovered tonight?
So it's very interesting that actually the suggestion about the shofar as the divine alarm clock to which you're referring actually only appears first in Maimonides, really thousands of years after the Rosh Hashanah first comes together as a Jewish holiday, or 1,000 years after the Mishnah. I'll mention as an aside that, and this is a true story, that a rabbi I know was traveling on El Al, either to Israel or from Israel. And as you know, there's always the danger that you'll get woken up on El Al because they'll do a service in the back, a morning service, shacharit. And so this was during the month of Elul, and it was the month preceding Rosh Hashanah. And so, Jewish tradition is that in some of these services, you blow the shofar in the days leading up. So, of course, as most of the people were sleeping, the people who were incredibly enthusiastic just took out the shofar and, which is taking the Maimonidean approach of the shofar as God's wake-up call extremely literally. But what does it actually mean? That this is a wake-up call to us. This is meant to be a jolt awake. We have to note, interestingly, that even though we speak about this as a wake-up call to repentance, and even as we speak about Rosh Hashanah as the first of the 10 days of repentance, the one thing that's never mentioned in the liturgy of Rosh Hashanah is the word repentance. The word tshuva does not appear. The word of confession does not appear. Sin does not really appear. Holiday is very positive, actually. In the book of Ezra, where Jews congregate on Rosh Hashanah, and Ezra reads the laws of the Torah to them, and the Jews, thinking of their sins, begin to cry. Ezra forbids them from crying and says, today is a joyous day because today is the coronation of God. And Al te'atzavu ki chedvat Hashem hi ma'uzchem. Be not sad, for the joy of the Lord is your strength. So what that means is that Rosh Hashanah is a day of psyching ourselves up spiritually. We coronate God as creator, but we also recognize that if we are created in God's image, we are gifted with creative capacities. And we are meant to use them. And so to say it's a wake-up call is to say, given the fact of divine greatness and of human greatness mirroring divine greatness, what are we doing in imitation of God? That relates first and foremost to parenthood, but not only to that. It reflects that our entire lives is a creative act. Rabbi Joseph Soloveichik, in a wonderful interpretation, noted the plural in which God speaks at the creation of man, Na'aseh Adam, let us make man. Who is the us? And God, he suggested, is speaking to man himself, that we join God in creating ourselves. So God as creator and man as creator in the image of God is the central theme of Rosh Hashanah. That begs the wake-up question, the wake-up call of, well, what are we doing with these capacities? But it's not meant to be sad. It's meant to be positive. The contrition follows. But only if we're aware of our capacity can we actually repair our lives. And so that's what it means when we speak of Rosh Hashanah as a day of self-reflection and of waking ourselves up into jolting ourselves together. That's what Rosh Hashanah is. You have to. There was a mention as an aside When I was growing up, there was a famous commercial for Folgers coffee, Folgers Crystals, the instant coffee, where they would show somebody in a restaurant, and they would say, "We're at this and this restaurant. We've secretly replaced their usual coffee with Folgers Crystals. Let's see if they notice the difference." And then they'll go around interviewing people, and people will say, "How's your coffee? Wow, it's amazing. I feel so awake, so alive." And they say, "Well, that's Folgers Crystals." Then of course this was a very famous. We all remember it, right? Very famous, and that led to the parody commercial on Saturday Night Live, where they show somebody in a hospital, and they'll say something like, "We've secretly replaced this patient's IV fluid with Folgers Crystals. Let's see if they notice the difference." That's basically what we mean when we say it's a wake-up call. In other words, that you're changing the rhythm of our day-to-day, and you're jolting people awake, but you're jolting people awake to consider who we really are and with what are the creative capacities with which we're endowed. If God is creator, then we too are creator. And what does that mean for us in the way we live our lives? That's what it means to speak of Rosh Hashanah as a day of waking up.